Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Patrick, look how long me I look for you.
Yeah, friend, Mr. Suffer. After me, never last.
So I asked her, so what do you?
Cause my friend, when my friend, I saw me stammer. You tell us you're not to do it. You're not here. What you want?
Stop going, someone. Sorry.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to another video. If you are new to this channel, welcome. If you are returning, thank you so much for the continued love and support. Before we move into the video, I just want you to do me a favor, just take a quick second to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. So this is part 2 of the playmaking process, where we're going to explore the other steps that you really need to go through when you are creating a play. All right, so we would have dealt with the what and the who, and so now we want to look at the how and the why. Like I said at the very beginning of the video, is that I put these two together because these two are the two things that helps to drive your plot. This is where your plot, really develops in terms of you building tension and conflict and developing the problem. This is where it comes. And so you have to lump the two together. And so even though we have separated them from the who, you cannot be looking at these two and not the how and the why, and not put the who as part of it. Because once you put the who as in the character in the situation, you now get to the place where you're examining how did this situation develop, and the development of the situation is moving you into how you move your plot forward and to make your plot interesting. And so when you are developing your character, that is your who, you are going to find that what is happening with you at the same time is that you're working on the how and the why. And so once at the beginning you have identified what your play is going to be about and the situation that you want to use to explore the issue that you've created, then you have decided on the choice of characters that you want to put in that situation to explore, the theme. Then you're going to ask yourself, how is it that this particular situation has developed? And then you get to your why, because once you have placed the characters in the situation and the situation has developed, there's a particular way in which your characters are going to behave when they're in a situation. And so you're asking yourself again the question, why is it that my characters are behaving this particular way in this situation? So there are two questions here at work. That is why the both are put together. How did the situation develop, and why is it that the characters are behaving the way they are behaving in this particular situation? And so your plot is moving forward. Usually how it is that your character behaves usually has a lot to do with what it is that the characters want to happen, or what they intend to accomplish, or what they want to happen in a particular situation. And so therefore, when you explain the situation, the who and the why, and allow your students to explore, what you want to make sure is that you're giving them scenarios and examining situations with them that will allow them to answer the question of, why is my character behaving this way, and how did the situation develop? Remember, whatever situation that a character is placed in, they're going to behave a certain way, and based on how they behave, it's always based on what they want to do and what they want to happen. All right, that is very important. And so you have to explore situations that are like that. And so I am going to show you a video in looking at the how. And in looking at this how, I want you to look at the potential for the conflict and the problem to develop in the situation, and just say what you think the person or persons in the demonstration wants to happen. Yeah, so two things you're looking for as you watch the demonstration. What do they want to happen, and what's the potential for problem and conflict development? Remember, your how and your why drives your drama, because this is where your plot comes into play. You're looking at your tension, so you identify the problem here, what the problem is, you're developing the tension, and you're developing and building the conflict and how the play is now moving forward. And that is why these are so important. So watch this video, and then you can tell me what you think. I said two things that you're watching for. The person involved, what do they want to happen? Because remember, we're saying how a person behaves has a lot to do with what they want to do or what they want to happen. And so as you watch, you're looking for what they want to happen, and also what's the potential for conflict development and the development of problem, etc. So here goes.
Is we have a consign, boy? Since you turned 16, you start behaving like you's a big man. And look how long I hear your mother tell you to go and take up the things them from around this. So why them still out there? Listen to me, boy. We only grow children in this house, here. So you see, next time you feel like say you want back answer or disobey any other thing in this house, you better know what say. Two bull can't rain na one pen.
All right, so you have viewed the clip. What are your thoughts? What is it that you think the character wants? You've watched it, you've listened to it, you've seen the actions. What is it that you think the character wants, and what's the potential for conflict? Whatever your thoughts are about it, put it in the comment section, and please let us talk about it. Let's have a conversation about it. Yes, because I'm curious and I'm interested in the various perspectives that I'm about to hear. But this is just an example of how it is that teachers, you can do the exploration, and even as a student among yourselves in your group in creating the playmaking, you can say, all right, let us explore some range of situations that has to do with what people want. So for example, what if it is a case where there's a situation where you have two people who are from across community lines. So community A people are not allowed to go to community B, right? But at the same time, you have a young man in community B and a young lady in community A who love each other and are in love and want to get married. What's the potential for conflict there? What is it that they want? And I mean, it's a typical Romeo Juliet story. And within the Caribbean, we have quite a number of that in the Caribbean, because, for example, in Jamaica, we have garrisons, and in some of our garrison communities, people cannot cross lines. So the person from community A is not allowed to go to community B. Yes, but you do have friends sometimes from these communities. And so how is it that these friendships sometimes play out when you want to hang out with each other and do different things? You might have countries that would have been experiencing those things. And so what you can do as a teacher is to explore these situations. And in looking at the how and the why and developing your plot, you want your characters to behave logically in these situations. And for your audience needs to know why your character is actually behaving this way. So if your character is very weird, your audience needs to understand why the character is so weird. If your character is overly simple, or your character is violent, or your character is too quiet, your audience needs to know why. Sometimes you yourself, you're probably watching a play or you're watching a movie, and somewhere along the line, a bit of information comes your way, and sometimes you say one job and say, oh, so that's why a person behaves so, or that is why this person behaved that way. There's always that explanation that is necessary for you, the audience, to fully understand what is happening. And so in creating your play, you have to create a play that will lend itself to these kinds of situation. And by doing that, you're making the play interesting, you're making the character interested, and you're moving the play along. All right, and so that is how you are going to deal with the how and the why, explaining how a situation develops and why it is that the character is behaving this way in this particular situation based on the character needs, the character wants. Those things are important within the situation. And all of these things in the how we know are influenced by the choice of theme, because there's a theme that you'd have selected at the beginning in terms of the issue that you want to explore. Yes, and the circumstance that you would have created to explore that. So all of that becomes important in the playmaking process. I really do hope you're finding this information useful. I hope it is helpful so far. I hope you're making notes, please, and you're willing to apply. Again, I'm going to ask you while you're at it, if you've not yet done so, please hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and prepare to share as soon as you are through watching this video. And so we are going to move on to our next key stage. So far we've looked at the who, we've looked at the what, and we've looked at the how and the why. So what do you think the next stage or key stage that we're going to do? And again, we are going to blend the next two. What exactly would those two be? And you are correct. We are about to look at two other key stages or steps in the playmaking process. And those two that we are going to look at, we are going to be looking at the where and the when. The where and the when. Again, I'm putting the two together, and I know most persons will agree with me in putting the two together, because when you're looking at the where and the when, this is where you're now looking at the setting for your play. Yes, the where regarding what the place, and the when the time, and those are the things that really make up the setting of your play. And so we are looking at them jointly, again in the same way we look at the how and the why that would have made up the plot. Yes, and so there's a saying that always says, you know what, drama unfolds in time and space, and time and place as well. You know, you usually hear that a lot. And so because of that, you have to recognize that whenever you have a situation, there has to be a place that the situation is taking place. And so whenever you are creating your play and you have decided on your setting, you want to make sure that the setting that you've created, the situation that you've selected, you want to put it in a setting that is going to make it extremely effective, because the setting that you select for your play, it has a lot of impact on how it is that it is viewed and what you really want to accomplish. So for example, if you want to look at how it is that persons are being kidnapped and you know, the seriousness of it, you may want to set your play to say, okay, and you decide to make a decision that here we are at this school, and you know, the gunmen or whoever they are have decided to, you know, they hold the entire school population hostage, and it may be a group of, let us say, maybe kindergarten children, and they have them hostage. Now that is going to be an extremely severe situation, more severe situation, how we are going to view it, as opposed to here you are, a group of people who are standing at this shop and somebody just come in and decide to hold up the bar and hold them hostage. It's going to be seen in a more negative way, and it's going to be more impactful. A similar thing, let us say you have a murder, and a murder has been committed in a church. Yes, you are going to be even more appalled by how erroneous this particular crime is, as opposed to if the murder taking place maybe at a bus stop outside, or just somebody on the road, etc. Yes, that is how you are going to view it, because of what the church represents. And so you have to choose your setting to allow your setting to be able to carry or capture the kind of background information that you really want it to have. And so you can explore other examples with your students as well for this. So for example, you have a couple crossing the street, holding hands, versus a couple holding hands wading through floodwaters. Those are two different settings, but it's the same people doing the same actions. So they are holding hands and they are walking, but two are walking along the street, maybe in the moonlight, holding hands. You have another two are holding hands and walking, but they are wading through floodwaters. Two separate situations. And so the feeling and the atmosphere that's created is going to be different. And so what you want to do, students, in your groups, Examine various settings for your situation that you've created. You've identified your theme and what you want your play to be about. You've identified the situation that you want to explore this theme in. You've identified the characters that you want to put in those situations and how they are behaving and why they are behaving that way. So now explore the where and the when. Use various ones. And the ones that are not working, you can get rid of them, but explore different settings and you can change them as you feel like in the exploration process, because you want to make sure that your action is happening the way you want it and is having the impact that you want it to have. And so teachers, you have to guide the students in making this particular decision. So therefore you want your setting to be appropriate. And while you're considering your place, you have to also consider the time of day that you're going to be using as well for this. And the time of day here varies. So is that your time of day here represents morning? Do you mean night, midday? Are you talking about winter? Are you talking about summer? So there are a range of things that you can do to explore time. And also some people, depending on how you're creating your play, may associate your time with food. So for example, I don't know, and you can share with me, people from other Caribbean islands, what are some of the seasonal fruits or foods that you have? So for in Jamaica, when we have OTET apple, there's a particular time that we'll say, okay, it's apple time. And so everybody know the time of year where we have apple. We might say it's mango time. We know the time of year that we have mangoes. We have guinea time. We know the time of year when those fruits come into being. And so that might also represent time for some of us. What are some of the different foods in the Caribbean that you have that might take time for you? You might say it's carnival season. Yes. What time of the year is that? So those are the things that you're also using to establish time. But what is critical in all of this, you want to make sure that you're being logical in applying time and your place, along with the characters being placed in the situation. And sometimes, from time to time, I would also go to do some of the examination and I'll find that there's the time frame, they're not necessarily corresponding. And so therefore you cannot have a student who say that, boy, you know, they are Sabbath keeper, which is a Saturday, and so they are going to church this Saturday. And then in no time you hear them, and it's Saturday morning and they're getting ready for church. And by the time you look, they're talking and you hear somebody say, you know what, good evening, me gone home, or you know, they're saying good evening. But if you're going to church in the morning, then you establish that already from conversation. Then the next dialogue cannot have you saying good evening, you know, or boy, may I go home, good night, or whatever it may be. Understand, without showing us a passing time, if there's a passing time. So you want to be logical. Also consider your place, because sometimes the location has a lot to do with some of the actions and the happening and the time that you are selecting. So for example, you cannot decide to use, let us use one of those countries where you have winter and you have summer, etc. You cannot decide that, okay, you know what, I'm going overseas. Let us say I'm going to Canada, so to speak, for the December holiday. You're going to spend, you know, time with your, and so you're going to carry your bathing suit because you're going to be going to the beach. Yes, that's not going to be a logical action that is matching place and matching time, because Canada is cold, you know, and freezing. So in winter, you cannot decide that in winter or December, when the time is cold, you're going to be going and carrying a bathing suit to go to the beach. That would not be logical, unless the character is so created in a way that he or she is clueless about what the weather is like in Canada, and the character is so designed that the character is packing all of these things, and so when the character goes there, the character is shocked by what he or she is experiencing. So there would also have to be an explanation. So you want to make sure that you're creating logical timing and logical setting and month of day and time, etc. And so in deciding on your location and in deciding on your time, you want to make sure that in, you know, working through the setting, you are also using some tips to create the set on stage that will speak to that. And so I'm about to give you some basic tips that you can use when you're deciding on your set on stage. Yeah. The first one I would suggest that you do is to be very practical in what it is that you're creating with your set. Make sure that whatever it is that you're creating, it is something that you need. Be very practical. So design it in such a way that it will do what it is that you want it to do. And so if you're just going to establish, what my living area or my living room is, or what my outdoor is, try to do it. Be practical. Try not to be moving your set all the time. So for example, for the playmaking, you have 15 minutes to create your play. And if your play performance is in 15 minutes, you don't want to have settings for your play where you're all over the place and you have 5 different scene changes. Teachers, guide your students with that. Please, thank you. Many times I'll go and I'll see some of the examinations, and when I look, the students are changing every minute. Some of the best ways to create these short plays is to have one location. Yes, so you have one set and allow everything to take place there. If you must change a scene, make it where you maybe have one change, but try to be very practical in whatever it is that you have to do, right? Try to make your set basic. You don't want to have a whole lot of things on your stage. If you have a lot of things on your stage and you're not using some of them, worse, you're changing, it makes it harder. Go minimalist. Go minimalist. You just want enough to establish what your setting is. So for example, you want to create a set with just a sofa, a living room. How can you establish that it's a living room? You may want to have some black boxes, and you have some that are put together, and then you have one in front of you and put something inside here. Just create something that looks like a sofa area, and how you utilize it will help your audience to recognize what your location is. And teachers, I implore you, if you can get the black boxes, they're always very useful. So I beg of you, ask your principals, try and get them and use them, because they are multifaceted. You can use them for so many things. I mean, if you don't have the black boxes, then you might want to use some chairs, but the black boxes, you recommend that you have those in spaces, because you can use those to do many things without having to construct a set. And so you teach students how to use minimalist set. Now also go for color. Look at the choice of color, what you're going to paint your boxes in. Your set can't be painted in red, and all your characters are wearing red. So that is why I said black boxes. Now black is that color that absorbs everything. So you can just have basic black, and then you use the colors now to do what it is that you want to do. That way you avoid the risk of having any form of clashing. Yeah, that's taking place on stage. And so once you're able to apply that, being basic, being practical, and pay attention to your choice of color, you'll find that you'll create a setting that is quite suitable for the time of day that you want your play to take place in, the various actions that are going to be happening on stage, and how the characters are going to utilize it, because the characters have to move in that space that you are creating. And so what I would suggest, what you can do, teachers, explore scenarios that will allow your students to practice designing and creating setting. Yeah, and set. So for example, what if you want to create a setting or a situation for somebody who, let us say, this person has been invited to, to host some people that he or she, not really into. You don't really like it, but your job is forcing you. The nature of your job is forcing you, and your parents forcing you. So you're going to have to host these people for dinner. You may be not going to go all out and go with all the fancy things, yes, because it's going to show how you feel coming out in how you design your set, as opposed to if it were a group of people coming for dinner that you're super excited about, you well want them to be there, you can't wait to have them, you're probably going to go all out and to be creating something that is extremely excited. If you're having dinner with somebody that you love, you're not going to go all out, because your whole attire, how you decorate your space, you're going to go all out. But if it is somebody that you don't love, you're probably not even going to want to have the dinner any at all. So teachers, give students scenarios so they can practice to design sets suitable for a particular situation and time, and that way the student gets a chance to do their practice, so when it comes to them putting their play together, then they will have those requisite or required skills that are necessary for the playmaking process.
Tito! Tita Pengele, Petito! Tita Pengele, Petita Hot Me. Tita Pengele, Petita Hot Me. Tita Pengele, Tita Pengele, Pina Gentis. Tita Pengele, Pina Gentis. Tita Pengele, Petito. Tita Pengele, Petita Hot Me. Tita Pengele, Tito. Tita Pengele, Tito. Tita Pengele, Petita Hot Me. Tita Pengele, Petita Hot Me. Tita Pengele, Petito. Tita Pengele, Petito. Tita Pengele, call the dentist. Tita Pengele, call the dentist. Tita Pengele, call the dentist. Tita Pengele, Petito. Tita Pengele, Petito. Tita Pengele, Petita Hot Me. Tita Pengele, Petita Hot Me. Tita Pengele, Petito. Tita Pengele, Petito. Tita Pengele, Petita Hot Me. 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 Tita Pengele, call the dentist. Tita Pengele, call the dentist. Tita Pengele, Tita Pengele, call the dentist. Tita Pengele, call the dentist. Tita Pengele, call the dentist. Tita Pengele, Tita Pengele.
And so there you have it. If you follow those basic steps, then you will have no issue find yourself creating or on the pathway to creating a meaningful play. And so let us just do a quick recap of what they were. So the first thing you want to explore is the what. And in exploring the what you're going to be looking at is what issue do I want to explore? And the issue here is same as your theme. So what is the theme that I want to explore, or the issue that I want to explore? And what is the situation that I'm going to create to ensure that I use it to explore this particular theme? Then you move on to your who. You're talking about the characters. What are the characters that I am going to put in this situation that will allow them to explore this theme and the issue that I'm working with? Once you've done that, then you're gone. Once you're doing that, you're gone into exploring your how and your why. So here the characters are in this situation, but how did this situation develop? And so while the characters are in this situation, why is it that they are behaving this particular way in this situation? And of course, having established the situation as well and your characters, you want to examine your where and your when, meaning the time and place. So what time of day is this situation taking place, and where is this situation taking place? And so once you are following those basic steps, you are very much on your way to creating the kind of play that you want to create. So pay attention to developing your character and to building your play. I do trust and hope that you have found this video quite useful. Yes, please, if you've not yet done so, hit the subscribe button below, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If it's been very informative, just drop in the comment section what it is that you have learned, what have you remembered. If you have any questions as well, please put it in the comment section and ask it. If you have just a statement, not necessarily a question, also put it in the comment section, and let us continue to talk about it and continue the conversation in that regard. With that said, stay tuned for more video. I will be doing another video on the same playmaking, but this time we are looking at the assessment, and we are going to pull apart the assessment sheet itself, and then we can say what is required and expected under each of the heading. So thank you so much for watching. Share this video with somebody else, share it with a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend, and I will see you next time with another video. Stay safe, and thank you so much for watching.